Healing Embodied Facebook community. It's Sarah. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Love Over Fear show. For anyone who isn't familiar with me quite yet, hi, welcome. I am Sarah. I am the lead body-mind integration expert here at Healing Embodied. So I work alongside of our lovely, wonderful CEO and founder, Chelsea Horton. And for anyone who hasn't joined us for the Love Over Fear show before, let me kind of tell you what this is and what you're in for. So Chelsea and I started the Love Over Fear show, oh God, I don't even know how long, several months ago. It's a show that we do twice a month right here on the Moving Beyond Fear Facebook community. That's our free Facebook community page. And this show is like talk show meets TED Talk meets educational webinar meets podcast meets hanging out with your friends. Just take all of it, jumble it together. That's what you get when you watch the Love Over Fear show. The show is really meant to just help you feel empowered, inspired. It's meant to educate. It is not meant to heal or replace any kind of therapy or professional support. That is not what this is about. This is just about providing education. We talk about all things ROCD and relationship anxiety here. We kind of pick a different theme every month that we go with. So we really started this show because we truly believe and know in our hearts that you can feel madly, deeply, wonderfully in love and also feel fear all at the same time. Those are not mutually exclusive. You can feel them at the same time, but we want to help you choose love over fear every single time. Those of us who have experienced relationship anxiety, those who are watching this show, I'm sure you are no stranger to living in fear, feeling a lot of fear, making decisions based off of fear. And we want to help you flip the script on that. That's why we're here. That's why Healing Embodied exists. That's why we do this show. That's why we do this work. We want to help you choose love over fear every single time. I see a couple people are here with me live. Say hi if you are here. I can almost never see comments. Actually, you know what? Bear with me here. I'm going to do something a little different. I think I did this last time too. I'm going to try and pull this up on my phone too, because for some reason I can never see comments on my computer, but I can see them on my phone. So here we go. If you are watching with me live, say hi in the comments. I will see your comments. It might just take me a second because my phone is a little bit delayed, but say hi, let me know you're here. Okay, let's dive on in. Today's episode is the truth about triggers. The truth about triggers. So, today's episode is not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to say some stuff that might be kind of hard to hear, a little bit hard to take in. You might even feel a little bit triggered during this episode about triggers. Okay? If you've been with us for a while, if you know anything about me and Chelsea and the work that we do, if you've seen any of these episodes, you've heard us say that before. You often hear us say things like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, or something like that. That's because we know, both from professional and personal experience, that sugarcoating information, trying to soften the blow, trying to deliver information in a really soft, gentle way that's just easy to absorb, might feel good, but it doesn't always work. More often than not, that just keeps you kind of stuck in the patterns of relationship anxiety. So I'm going to talk about triggers today. It might be triggering. It might be hard to hear. That's okay. Let's do this. I freaking love talking about the things that nobody else likes to talk about. I love it. I love talking about triggers. I love talking about shame. I really love it because these are things that need to be talked about and a lot of people aren't talking about them. So let's do this thing. Let's dive on in, okay? Before we launch into talking about triggers, let's kind of breathe together and get into a mindset and an embodied mindset where we can actually absorb information. If we're just going through our day, if you're already feeling a little anxious, if you're like, oh my God, what is she going to say? You're not going to actually be able to take in new information. In order to absorb information, we have to do that from a place that is grounded and mostly calm in your nervous system. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just set our feet on the floor, unless you're driving, in which case pay attention to the road, please. Set your feet on the floor, feel your butt in the chair, release your shoulders, tilt your head, relax the neck muscles, relax the jaw, relax the hands. Let's just take a couple nice deep breaths together. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, release. On this next one, let's inhale and shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, drop them down. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Exhale, release them down. Oh yeah, let out a yawn. Wiggle, shake. All right, let's do this. So, yesterday on our Instagram stories, I asked our followers to do a little bit of homework. You may have seen that, you may have not. The homework was to think about 3 things before today's episode. Number 1, think about something that triggers you. Something that triggers you. Number 2, what happens in your body when you feel triggered? And number 3, how do you typically respond when feeling triggered? Okay, those were the 3 things that I asked you to consider. What's something that triggers you? What happens in your body when you're triggered? And how do you typically respond? If you thought about those, or if you're thinking about them now, comment below if you want to share. I would love to hear what you came up with. And keep that in your mind as we're going through, because those are kind of going to be our pillars of what we're going to talk about today. So let's start with what the heck triggers actually are. That is such a buzzword in our society these days. Trigger warning, oh, it triggered me, that thing triggered me, I'm feeling really triggered right now. That's a buzzword, and what the heck do we even mean when we say that? Okay, so a trigger. A trigger is something, person, place, thing, memory, blog post, something your therapist or friend or partner says, etc. Something that dysregulates you. It causes your nervous system to be in a state of dysregulation. When I say dysregulates, what I mean is something that pushes you outside your window of tolerance. Cindy, she said, absolutely anything that has to do with my partner's exes trigger me so bad I can literally cry at the mention of an ex. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so the mention of your partner's ex is something that causes your nervous system to be in a state of dysregulation. So, what dysregulating means is that it pushes you outside of your window of tolerance. So you might have heard us talk about the window of tolerance here before. The window of tolerance refers to events, experiences, emotions that you can tolerate without being spiked into a fear response. Everybody has a window of tolerance. Everybody does, okay? Handy dandy visual right here, the WOT, window of tolerance. Everything inside of the window is what you can tolerate without being spiked into a fear response. Stuff that's kind of up here or down here, it might feel uncomfortable. The window of tolerance is not what feels good necessarily. It's what you can tolerate without experiencing a fear response in your nervous system. So, some emotions, experiences, events are outside the window of tolerance. They are outside of what we can tolerate and still stay regulated. Stuff that's up here is stuff that causes you to become hyper aroused. So that kind of nervous system response is what you might think of when you think of anxiety. Heart pounding, turning red, crying, difficulty breathing, shaking, panic attack kind of feelings. Okay, that hyper arousal. It's kind of like this sort of an energy. Okay, stuff that is down here causes you to become hypo aroused, dissociating, shutting down, feeling numb, feeling depressed, lack of emotion. I just can't feel anything. When my partner says he loves me, I don't feel anything. When she holds my hand, I don't feel anything. That is hypo arousal. Okay? So when we are saying, I feel triggered, what we are saying is something happened that caused my nervous system to enter a survival state. Fight, flight, or freeze. Flight and fight tend to be up here. Freeze tends to be down here. Okay? That's what a trigger is. A trigger is something that causes your nervous system to be spiked into a fear response, a survival state. Hyper arousal or hypo arousal, or some combination of the two. Okay? So, this is pointing you, when this happens, this is pointing you towards an active pain point in yourself. That is the most important thing I'm going to say today, so I'm going to say it again. When you get triggered, when you feel triggered and dysregulated by something that happened, that is pointing you towards an active wound, an active pain point that is inside of you that's being poked at. Okay, so think about it. If something weren't an active wound, then it wouldn't be triggering. Okay? It wouldn't be outside of your window of tolerance. It would be in the window of tolerance. It still might not feel good, right? Things in the window of tolerance can still be uncomfortable, but it wouldn't be triggering. It wouldn't cause that fear response. The exact same event could happen. Your partner could talk about an ex. You could see the exact same person, get the exact same tarot card reading, the exact same horoscope, the exact same memory could pop into your head. Your partner could do the exact same thing. The only thing that makes these events triggering is the fact that it's poking at an active pain point in you. Okay? This is exactly why I don't really believe in trigger warnings. Trigger warnings are, when someone's about to say something that could be triggering and they say like, oh, trigger warning, this might trigger you, okay? Because literally every single thing that happens or exists on this planet could be triggering to someone. We all have different windows of tolerance. Those of us who have experienced trauma or maybe chronic anxiety, your window of tolerance might look a little bit more like this. It might be super, super narrow. It might be almost non-existent, meaning that it feels like everything triggers you, even positive experiences. Like your partner says like, oh, you look nice, and you're like, whoa, right? So literally everything could trigger someone. If we just walked around constantly being concerned about whether what we're doing or saying is going to trigger other people, we wouldn't be able to say or do anything. Now, I'm going to put in a little disclaimer here. I'm not telling you to just like go be an asshole, okay? Be a respectful human, please. But just understand that literally everything can be triggering to someone out there, okay? So this is the part that is a little bit hard to hear. I have heard time and time again people say things like, my partner triggered me, or my therapist triggered me so badly in session the other day, or that post you shared on Instagram triggered me. Okay. Vanessa said, yes, partner always says I look nice and I get upset. He tells me that so much. LMAO, who am I? Yes, so for some reason, being told you look nice is outside of your window of tolerance right now. Okay, it's causing you to be spiked into a fear response. Okay, yes, very good insight, Vanessa. So, all right, this is what I've heard from so many people. My partner triggered me. My therapist triggered me so badly in session. That post you shared on Instagram triggered me. Now, examine those sentences for a little bit with me. Let's just examine this. Let's put on our high school English teacher glasses for a minute here. When you say, that post you shared triggered me, where are you placing the responsibility? On the post or on the person who shared it. There's an implication there that it was the post's fault, or it was that person's fault that you were triggered. If that post wasn't there, then I wouldn't have been triggered. If my therapist hadn't said X, Y, and Z, then I wouldn't have been triggered. But guess what? If you are feeling triggered, that's on you to explore. It's on you. Now, let's pause. Let's pause for a moment here, because I really don't want you to misinterpret what I'm saying here, okay? Again, I am not saying that it's okay for people to just be jerks or say rude things or hurt people's feelings or bring up people's trauma purposefully. That's not what I'm saying. That's not okay, all right? What I'm saying is that if you feel triggered by something, it's pointing you towards an active wound in yourself, and it's your responsibility to heal that wound. The wound is in you. It's your responsibility. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to just white knuckle your way through it or DIY your way through it, but it's on you to work on healing that wound, okay? We can take away the trigger. Sure, we can take it away. But the wound is still there. You can unfollow that Facebook account or Instagram account. You can get a new therapist. You can leave your partner. But guess what? The wound is still there. And soon enough, something is going to come along and poke at it again. Until we dig in and become curious about that wound and do the healing work around that, you're just going to keep getting triggered. Cindy said, okay, that makes sense. Yes, yes. The wound is still there. Take the triggers away if you want to, but the wound is still there. And something's going to come along to poke at it. That's a bit of a gross metaphor, but I really like it. Okay, think of it like this. If you had a big, gaping wound, a big old cut or something on your arm, anytime the wind blows or a little fleck of dust gets in it or someone brushes against it or you accidentally bang into your desk or the wall, it's going to be excruciating. It's going to hurt so bad. Okay, so if we just went the route of removing the triggers, remove the wind, remove the dust, remove the corners, don't let anyone in your space who could possibly brush against it, get rid of all the pets, no clothing that could touch it. If we remove all the triggers, you're just going to be left living in a bubble. Literally a closed, airtight bubble. Or you can go the route of healing the wound, taking the antibiotics, wrapping it up, changing the bandages, seeing the doctor, drinking a lot of water, looking at what happened that caused the wound in the first place, okay? We can go that route, and then you can actually live life again. Because you're going to heal the wound, and you're not going to be concerned with, I have to avoid every single thing that could possibly cause pain to this wound. Okay, it's the same thing with these internal wounds. We can't just avoid our triggers forever. So let me get a sip of water here because I'm talking a lot. When it comes to ROCD, or relationship anxiety, what often happens is this. Something in the relationship is causing you to feel dysregulated. Vanessa said, great analogy. Thank you. All my medical friends out there are probably like, but I think it makes a lot of sense, right? We don't really think of internal wounds the same way we think of external wounds. So we treat them so differently, and I don't know why. We need to treat them the same. So when it comes to relationship anxiety, what often happens is something in the relationship causes you to feel dysregulated or triggered. Anxiety thinks, oh, the trigger is my partner or my relationship. My partner and my relationship are triggering me. So if I wasn't with that partner, or if I wasn't with in that relationship, then I wouldn't be triggered. If I just remove the thing that's triggering me, then I'll be fine. This is why we have breakup urges, right? Anybody out there ever experienced breakup urges before? This is why, because the anxious brain thinks that the way to not be triggered anymore is to simply remove the trigger, and it thinks that your partner or your relationship is the trigger. That's the problem. So if I just remove the problem, then everything's going to be hunky-dory. Vanessa said right now, yeah, baby, yeah. But you're not actually removing the fuel of the trigger. The fuel is the active pain point, the wound in yourself, the subconscious belief, the memory, the trauma, whatever it is. It's inside of you. Your relationship, your partner might be poking at it or brushing up against it on accident, and that's causing a lot of pain. But that's not what is actually fueling the pain. It's the wound. If the wound wasn't there, then your partner poking at you or rubbing up against you wouldn't hurt. If the wound of hearing about your partner's exes wasn't there, then your partner talking about his exes wouldn't trigger you. It might not, it might bother you. I don't love when my husband talks about his exes, but it doesn't trigger me. It just goes on its way. That's it. Cindy said, I threaten to break up all the time because it's easier than working on myself. I know it's so painful for my boyfriend. Yes. So that's a huge misconception, right? Leaving my partner is easier than working on myself, taking a look at the pain. It's not. It's not. Because guess what? Leaving your partner is probably painful. It's probably painful to think about. So what's actually easier? It might feel easier on the outside, externally. What's actually easier? I know which one I would pick. I know which one I did pick. Thank God. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Here's the juicy stuff. What do we do then? You're like, all right, Sarah, I get it. It's all on me. What do I do? So what do we do when we feel triggered? I'm going to explain this, and we're also going to kind of try it together here, because why not, right? We're all about experiential learning. All right, so you get triggered, right? Your nervous system is being overwhelmed. You're entering a survival state, flight, fight, or freeze. When this happens, when you're in that survival state, you're not concerned with logic, you're not checking the facts of the situation, your social engagement system is shut down, you're literally only concerned with survival. That is why humans have the survival state, to help us survive when we are in danger. Real, actual danger, not perceived danger, real danger. When a tiger is lunging at you, you go into a survival state to get the hell out of there, right? Keep yourself alive, get away from the tiger. Good luck. Okay? That's why we have it. So, you're spiked into a fear state, hyper or hypo arousal, fight, flight, freeze. First thing you need to do is connect to the body and ground yourself. You got to get back towards your window of tolerance. You got to get out of this survival state, right? Because remember, when you're in a survival state, you don't give a shit about emotions or connecting with your partner or anything. You're just trying to stay alive. That's literally what your body is trying to do, is stay alive. Okay? We can't process triggers when we're just focused on staying alive. So, first thing we got to do is ground ourselves. We got to ground our body, ground our mind, bring us back closer to our window of tolerance. Some ways you might do this is through breathing, through breath work. You might do some 5 senses. Okay, you might place a hand, but this is what I want us to try together today. Place a hand wherever you feel your alarm, your anxiety, your trigger, whatever you want to call it, wherever you feel that. Place 1 or 2 hands on that spot and just breathe. Belly breathing is one of my absolute favorite techniques. It's where you inhale and exhale and you really think about your belly inhaling and blowing up like a balloon and then coming back together as you exhale. Inhale, expand. It's how babies breathe. It just sends a message to the brain that you're safe, that you're okay. Connect to the alarm. Connect to the anxiety. Breathe. If you're really triggered in this moment, when you're feeling a trigger, you might be like, it's okay. Maybe try holding your breath. Inhale. Hold. Hold, hold, hold. Exhale. Might feel counterintuitive, but it's the exhale that actually triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which sends you back into your social engagement system. Okay, so we might do something like breathing. We might do something like shaking. Shaking is a very primal, animalistic way of processing difficult emotion. You might shake, 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 shake. Shimmy it. Shake your booty. Shake your knees. Shake, 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 shake. You might do some shaking. You might do some tapping. You might make some sounds like I am. Okay. So do something to help bring yourself back towards your window of tolerance. When you feel your body getting spiked either into panic attack or dissociation, do something that's going to bring you back closer towards what you feel like you can safely tolerate right now. That is step number 1. We got to do something. It might take you 2 minutes, it might take you 10, it might take you an hour. Do something until your nervous system feels like you're back closer to a state of equilibrium, balance. You might not feel totally like, all right, I'm great, but come closer to a place that you can tolerate. That is step 1. Do not skip step 1. Don't skip step 1. If you skip step 1, all the other steps are literally pointless, okay? Do something to bring you back first, okay? I also want to say that getting distance from your trigger is a good thing. Very different than avoidance. I'm not telling you to avoid your triggers because we're still in steps 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. We're still going to examine the trigger. Okay, we're not avoiding it, but give yourself space to regulate it. If you're like me and you're feeling angry or dysregulated or something by someone, something, someplace, as long as that is in your immediate environment when you're in a fear state, that's literally all you're going to focus on. Okay, if I'm mad at someone and that person is in the room, doesn't matter what we're doing, I'm going to be like seething over here, right? Or if I'm feeling really, really triggered by something my partner said or did or didn't say or didn't do, and I'm just sitting next to my partner trying to regulate, it's not going to work, right? I'm just going to be continually bombarded with the thing that is triggering me in the moment. So give yourself some space. Go to the bathroom, go in the other room, close your eyes for a minute, go get some distance, go for a walk, go sit in your car, just take a break. Take a break, give yourself the best opportunity you can to regulate. Okay, there are very, very few situations in this world where getting some form of a break is impossible. One of those ways might be if you are in the car with your partner and you are driving. If that's the case, maybe like crank the music up really loud so you have something else to focus on. If you are a doctor or a surgeon and you are in surgery, you probably shouldn't like close your eyes and start shaking. Though if you're triggered in surgery, you might need to take a break. I don't know. That's just what I think. Not a surgeon by any means. Okay, but there are very, very few situations in this world where you can't take some form of a break. So get some distance, do something to regulate your system. Okay? Then what we need to do is we need to become curious about the triggers. We need to become curious. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, that triggered me, that was wrong, that was a bad thing, I need to avoid that, that place is so triggering to me, that movie is so triggering to me, that TV show is so triggering, I can't ever watch that, I can't listen to that song because it makes me think of my ex or my partner's ex, I'm so triggered. Instead of just avoiding it, become curious. Okay, say woo, woohoo, whoa. When my partner didn't text me back for a really long time, I felt really dysregulated. I wonder what that was about. Let me be curious about that. What was actually going on there? Okay, entering into an energy of curiosity instead of judgment, avoidance, blame. This is what will lead you to healing. We have to become curious about our triggers. So often, because triggers are so painful to us, because the experience of being dysregulated is so painful and scary, we're just like, nope, I'm gonna avoid the crap out of that. Not happening, no way, no how. Okay? We gotta do the opposite of that. We gotta become curious. We gotta ask, like, what was happening there? What was going on? Okay? Just enter into this energy of curiosity, right? Ask yourself, what is this wound? What's the wound that this is poking at? Okay, so someone shared any mention of your partner's ex. It makes you feel triggered. Okay, so ask yourself, when my partner or anybody mentions their ex, I feel triggered. Okay, what wound is being poked at? What's the pain that's coming up? Okay, what's in there? What's the fear? Is this my fear of abandonment? Is this reminding me of when my dad left or my parents got divorced? Is this reminding me of my ex who broke my heart and ghosted me or something? Am I feeling unworthy? Am I feeling guilty about the fight my partner and I had last night? Am I what's the pain? What is the pain there? So we get really, really stuck in the content of my partner mentioned his ex and it triggered me. But let's kind of like let that dissolve a little bit. Let's let that dissolve and see what's under the surface there. What's the wound? What's the pain? Okay, I'm feeling pain. Where is the pain coming from? Where is it? Where is it? Right? So we need to ground, we need to invite curiosity, we need to peel back the layers on whatever is being stirred up, and then we need to ask, what does that part of me need right now, and how can I start to meet that need myself? Okay, so right now, do this with me. Wherever you feel your anxiety, your alarm, your trigger, once again, place your hands there, okay? If we're noticing that this pain is our fear of abandonment or our fear of grief, let's breathe at that. You might feel emotion coming up. You might feel tears coming up. You might feel something happening in your body, something stirring. That's okay. Breathe, 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 breathe. Listen to my voice. Remind yourself that you're safe right now. This is hard. This is uncomfortable, but I'm safe right now in this moment. I'm safe. Okay? And ask, okay, there's a part of me that is so afraid of being abandoned. I'm so scared of my partner leaving me. What does that part of me need? Does that part need to be wrapped up and held and nurtured? Does that part need to cry or scream? Does that part need to be moved and danced? Does that part need to hear you say it's okay? We're gonna be okay. We're gonna make it through this. What does that part of you need? And how can you start to meet that need yourself? That's what we need to do when we're triggered. We gotta give ourselves distance from the trigger. We gotta ground, come back towards some sense of closer to your window of tolerance, some sense of equilibrium. We gotta enter into curiosity. We gotta ask what's actually happening. What's the wound? What's the wound and the pain that's under there? And then what does that part of me need? Okay, I'm seeing some comments. Cindy said, my fear is always that my ex would eventually go back to their ex because that's what happens in the movies, right? Jennifer Lopez just got back with Ben Affleck after 10 years. I mentioned it to my boyfriend and freaked out on him and said he will probably do the same. I mean, yeah, girl, because movies are real life, right? I'm saying that with love and a little bit of tongue in cheek, right? Okay, so the fear is this is what happens in movies, so that's what's going to happen with me and my partner, right? So there's the fear. Let's let that dissolve a little bit. What's under there? What's the wound? That's the trigger. Oh my gosh, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got back together. That's the trigger. So what's the wound? Is it a fear of abandonment? Do you feel unlovable? Do you feel unworthy? Do you fear being alone? Do you fear the grief you would feel if your partner left you and went back to one of his exes? What's the wound? And then what does that wound need? What does that part of you need? Okay, there's your work, should you choose to accept it. Okay, so when we can do these things, then we're giving ourselves the opportunity to actually heal what's below the surface. We're not just going to be playing ROCD whack-a-mole and avoiding triggers, avoiding our way through life forever. We're actually giving ourselves the opportunity to heal. We're setting ourselves up to be able to talk to our partners about this, Cindy, in a way that isn't blowing up at them, right? We're going to be able to actually start living life again instead of just constantly trying to avoid triggers. Avoidance is no way to live. It's not, okay? I want to give you an example from my life here. So, on mine and my husband's first anniversary of dating, so when we had been together for a year, I got so upset with him because he didn't post about me on social media. He didn't post anything about our anniversary on Facebook or Instagram. I was so hurt, and I didn't do any of the things that I just talked about. I blew up at him. I blamed him. I told him he should do these things because I wanted him to. I even threw in his face that I knew that he posted about one of his exes on their anniversary on social media a few years before. I did all of the things that I just told you not to do. Okay, and I did none of the things that I told you to do. I didn't ground myself. I wasn't curious. I definitely didn't take responsibility for the response I was having. I fully took the route of I wouldn't be feeling triggered if he had just posted about me. If he had just done this thing, then I wouldn't be feeling like this. Okay. Years later, and a lot of work later, I circle back to this moment and I breathed and I relaxed. And I thought to myself, damn, Mike was a great boyfriend at that time. Why was that one thing so upsetting to me? I invited curiosity. I grounded myself. I invited curiosity. I said, what was going on there? What was actually happening? I got really curious, and I started to see that him not posting about me was bringing up so much pain from past relationships, and really, really poking at some very deep feelings of unworthiness, unattractiveness, and feelings of being unlovable for me. That one simple thing of not posting was poking at all of these wounds that were under there. And instead of throwing that back on him and blaming him for poking at my wounds, I sat with those parts. It sucked. It was uncomfortable. I sat with them, the parts of me that feel unworthy, unlovable, unattractive. I sat with those parts. And I moved with them, and I cried a lot, and I held them, and I yelled, and I nurtured them. I met my own needs. I held space for my own healing, and it changed everything. It changed everything. Instead of just throwing it on him, it's your fault that you poked at my wounds, I turned inward and I said, I have these wounds, and when people poke at them, it hurts. So what am I going to do about it? And I healed those wounds. Okay? Then I could talk to him about it. I could say, do you remember that first fight we had? And he was like, yeah, you were crazy. Well, I've been reflecting on that a lot, and I can really see now that that brought up a lot of feelings of unworthiness for me. And I think that that part of me needs some more support. I could speak to my needs from a grounded, calm, curious place and approach the conversation with the energy of, this is something that feels really important to me. Can we talk about it? Are you willing to do this? Instead of blaming, shaming, and saying you need to do this, and blaming my reaction on his actions. That is the biggest thing here. Okay, we need to stop blaming our reactions on someone else's actions. If you can't do that, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. Okay? Again. Please do not misinterpret what I'm saying. I am not referring to situations of abuse. I am not victim blaming. I am not referring to situations where you are being blatantly mistreated. I am not referring to those situations. Those are entirely different situations. Please, please, please don't misinterpret this. Okay? Outside of those situations, we need to start seeing that the causes of our emotional reactions are coming from within and not from the external environment. We cannot keep blaming our reactions on other people's actions. Okay, let me check in with comments. I see comments. Okay. What are your suggestions for when you're going through this practice but no information comes to you, no insight, and what wound that trigger is bringing up, an insight on what those needs may be? I sometimes get stuck and come up short on what my trigger may be related to. A couple of things. This is not a one and done kind of thing. If you do this one time and you're like, oh, I don't know, and you never go back to it, okay, you gotta go back to it. You gotta do this a couple of times. These wounds might be real, real deep in there. The layers, the scar tissue you built up might be real thick. Okay, it might take some time. And my other thing is get support. Don't try to DIY this. Don't try to white knuckle through it. If you're not seeing what's coming up for you, get support. Work with someone who has been there or knows this work or knows where to guide you and where to point you and can support you in this and give you that containment and that comfort and that support. Don't try to DIY this, okay? So yes, I keep saying like this is on you, but I'm not saying you have to be alone in it. Get support. Please, 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 please. I did, and it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. I would probably not have been able to do it on my own, so. And Cindy said, okay, starting today I will. Hell yeah. Start today. Start right this second. Right now. Okay? Right now. Yeah, baby. That's a lot for Wednesday afternoon. Am I right? Yes. I love this stuff, and I want to help you in this process. This is something... You're welcome, Vanessa, of course. This is something that we will, sorry, when I get excited and talk a lot, my mouth gets very dry. I love this stuff. I want to help you in this process. This is something that we will help you learn in our programs. This is not something that just hearing me talk about this for 45 minutes, you're gonna be like, oh, I got it. You know, I gave you some pretty practical tools to use, but this takes time, and this takes a lot of work. Okay, so we will help you learn to start seeing your triggers for what they really are. We will help you learn to embrace curiosity. We will help you identify, figure out what the heck those wounds are, and actually heal the wounds and heal the pain points. We will help you heal the wounds that like years and years and years of talk therapy won't touch and won't get to. We'll help you expand your window of tolerance. You'll finally be able to start living life and not just avoiding your way through life or constantly feeling triggered. A survival state is no way to live life. It's not. Life is about so much more than just surviving. It is about so much more than just surviving. So let us help you. Okay, read about our programs on our website. If it sounds like something that would feel good to you and be helpful for you, apply to work with us. I'll link it below. If your application's accepted, let's talk. Let's figure out the right program for you and let's get going. Okay, let's do this thing. Life is about so much more than just surviving. If you are living life in a state of dysregulation, if you are always triggered, you're not living life. You're just surviving day to day. And I don't want that for you. Okay. Cindy said, yes, thank you. I'm crying. I want to change. I need to change. I'm a really good person. Hell yeah, you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. I just have triggers and insecurities and I lash out because I want to be happy and strong. Yes. Yeah. You are responding in the way that you know how right now. Okay? You're not a bad person. You're not a bad partner. You're not doing something wrong. You're responding in the way that you know how. So it's time to learn a new way. Okay? You can teach an old dog new tricks. Not calling you old. I don't know how old you are. But you can teach an old dog new tricks. It's never, ever, ever too late. It's never too late. Okay? You just need to learn a new way to respond. Lauren said, I trigger myself by constantly asking myself if my partner is the one. And sometimes I get intrusive thoughts that are like, do I really want a future with my partner? Any advice what to do with these? Exactly everything I just said. Everything I said. So the trigger is constantly asking, is my partner the right one for me? Do I really want a future with him? The thoughts are triggering you. Okay, the thoughts are the trigger. So what's the wound? We got to dig in. We got to figure out what that wound is. What's it poking at? Okay, why is that triggering for you? For me, the thought of, is my partner really the one for me? Literally causes no change. No change for me. I don't feel triggered at all. It's not because I'm superior to you. It's not because I'm better than you. It's because that's not an active wound for me. There are other things that trigger me because of active wounds that I have. So that's triggering you. The thought of, do I really want a future? Is my partner really the one? Is triggering you because there's an active wound in there. So we got to dig in. We got to figure out what that wound is and what it needs to heal. Okay. Vanessa, I love these questions. You guys are awesome. Would you say this program can help with to love? I literally find myself, learning how to love. I literally find myself Googling how to love, and all that comes up is Lil Wayne's song. Yes. Oh my God, I'm going to listen to that after this. Funny. Feels like I'm incapable, and that causes triggers and intrusive thoughts. Yes. So when I read that, Vanessa, I don't know much about you or your specific situation. When I read that, the feelings of I can't love, two things stick out to me. One is that you are in a survival state. You are probably down here. If you're not feeling a lot of emotion right now, you're probably in hypoarousal. And remember, when we are in a survival state, our social engagement system, the thing that allows us to connect with other people, shuts off. It's a very amazing skill that humans have. Shuts off so that you can get yourself away from that hungry tiger that's lunging at you. and keep yourself alive. So if you are in a survival state, of course you can't feel love because you literally don't have the capacity to. Chelsea did an amazing Love Over Fear episode months ago. It was one of our first ones called Why You Can't Feel the Love. Check that one out. Okay, she says everything I just said, but like expands on it. It's amazing. Just go to YouTube and search Love Over Fear show, Why You Can't Feel the Love. It's going to pop up first thing. Check out that episode, okay? You can't feel the love. You literally can't. I hear that from people so much that are like, when I'm triggered, I can't feel love, and that's triggering me more. And I'm like, well, why are you trying to feel love when you're triggered? You're trying to keep yourself alive, so you can't feel love, right? So first things first, we gotta get back out of a survival state, and then we can start to cultivate these feelings of love, okay? All right. Holy mackerel, that was a juicy episode. This was amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining live. Anyone checking out this recording, let us know how it was for you. What did you learn? Anything that stuck out? Was it hard to hear? I hope it might be. That's okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. Love you all. Take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye.